What's good, everyone? It's Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. And for today's video, we're going to take a look at the highly anticipated Nike Zoom GT Cut 2 performance review. So starting off with the traction on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2, you do have a traction pattern what they're calling Smear Traction 1.0. And as far as I understand, you have these nubs at the heel and at the forefoot. The forefoot portion is kind of like a translucent rubber or plastic compound is what I'm hearing. And then in the middle between that, you do have this really thick, I guess they're calling it smear traction. And basically it's super thick herringbone traction, as you can see here. And basically the way this works is when you're kind of moving laterally or forward and back, this traction kind of moves with your foot, as it's pretty soft, as you can see here, and it kind of moves on the floor with you and grabs the floor, whereas the little nubs or the little arrows, as you can see here at the toe and at the heel, these are kind of just in place and just kind of grab the floor in a stationary position. But this herringbone portion here does a great job at biting the floor, and it's just super thick, as you can see here. So it kind of has layers through it. So if you kind of start wearing through the top layer, as you can see, there's other layers that are going to kind of show face. So it's definitely interesting how these perform on court. In my opinion, they perform fantastic. On clean floors, you're going to have no problems. You're not going to have to wipe at all. On dirty floors, you may have to wipe every 5 or 6 plays. And I did kind of slide to a stop maybe 2 or 3 times. It wasn't anything major. I kind of slid for an inch and then the shoe came to a stop. So there's really nothing to be concerned about as far as the traction goes on these. So as far as the traction goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, I'm gonna have to give them a pretty solid 9 out of 10. It's pretty similar to the GT Cut 1. One thing I will mention about the 1's traction is that it is a lot louder as far as the squeak goes. But again, as far as how this performs on court, I think a lot of you will be pleasantly surprised because it performs great indoors. And as far as the durability, as you can see here, the herringbone portion is very thick, and this is really showing no wear and tear at all. I've put about 30 hours of indoor basketball in these. So again, as far as the traction goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2, I would have to give these a very solid 9 out of 10. So as far as the cushioning goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, you do have this foam. I believe it's just an EVA, so it's not very soft, but you do get some compression here in the heel, as you can see here. And then stitched directly to the upper, the next portion of the cushioning is the full-length Zoom Strobel, or what they're calling Parabolic Zoom Air. And this is basically kind of replacing that Strobel board, which is usually cardboard or a different kind of foam or material that's usually on top of the cushioning setup. That's replaced with this directly underfoot. So again, it's a very plush ride, and basically it's air encapsulated within this unit here with quick response tensile fibers. So again, it's a very low profile cushioning. Zoom Air is actually my favorite cushioning, full length Zoom Air to be exact. This is from a Jordan 12, but again, this is basically what's directly under your foot. And then just above that, you are gonna have this full length React drop-in midsole. It's not quite as soft as the Zoom GT Cut 1.0, but it's definitely a nice feeling kind of step in comfort directly under your foot. And then at the heel, as you can see here as well, there is a second Zoom unit. It's almost embarrassingly small on how tiny this is as far as the hex unit goes, but you can definitely feel it in your heel because this React in the heel portion of the shoe is literally paper thin. It does thicken out a bit towards the forefoot, and then as well you can kind of see a drop here from the heel to forefoot. And as far as the comfort goes, I would say the drop-in React midsole on the 1.0 is just a little bit more comfortable, but I think this Zoom unit, even though it's tiny like I mentioned, it is a welcome addition because on the GT Cut 1, the second Zoom unit was embedded in the heel, but here they do bring it closer to your foot. So again, it's a very low to the ground cushioning system, very similar of the Kobe models of the past, kind of similar to the 8s and the 9s. But again, you're getting a very plush ride with that full-length Zoom Strobel and the second unit in the heel, and then that drop-in React midsole. And then again, it is kind of cored out ever so slightly here as well, as you can see. So that Zoom unit is basically sitting directly like this under your foot. So again, it's a very plush ride, and for me being in my mid-30s, it's a welcome addition as far as this basketball shoe goes. I really enjoyed this setup. And then as well, I will mention the way it differs from the GT Cut 1 is they also have this liner here, the sock liner. There was a bunch of nubs in the forefoot of the GT Cut 1 drop-in midsole, and they did do away with that because I know a lot of people were kind of annoyed with how it fit and getting some blisters on their toes and just hard to get their foot in the drop-in midsole on the 1.0, but the liner is definitely a welcome addition. But again, as far as the cushioning setup, I really enjoy it, and I actually like it just a little bit better than the 1.0s. So as far as the cushioning setup, I'm gonna have to give these a very solid 10 out of 10. Again, you have that EVA foam in the heel, the full-length Zoom Strobel, the drop-in React midsole, and then the second Zoom unit in the heel. So again, great job, Nike. If you guys are gonna making a cut 3.0 and a 4.0, please do not differentiate the cushioning. I really enjoy the full-length Zoom setup and the double stacked in the heel. So again, Nike did a fantastic job on the 2.0. As far as the fit goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, they do fit true to size. So I went with a size 10.5. I wore a size 10.5 in the 1.0, and it did not differentiate here on the 2.0. I would say that if you're a wide footer, I would go up half a size, as they're just a little bit narrow here in the forefoot, as you can see. And you're not really gonna be able to try these on because these are gonna sell out like hotcakes. I know they released over in Asia already, and they sold out in like under a minute. So again, if you're gonna be ordering online and you're a wide footer, go up half a size, and I think that's really gonna be the best fit for you. And then again, as far as the fit, I will mention that the tongue is a little annoying compared to the 1.0 because they didn't add any bungees for the tongue or the laces going through the tongue. So when you're sticking your foot in, the tongue can kind of get turned around or scrunched up. So it can be a little bit annoying, but again, as far as the fit goes, go true to size and you should be good. And I will mention as well with the fit, it's very much a one-to-one fit. This material is very free-flowing and thin. So again, just the way it fit my foot, this toe box is very thin and tapered in my opinion. And just the way it fit my foot, there was no extra room within the shoe. My toe is basically right at the end of the shoe right here, right where I like it and kind of where I like my basketball shoes. I don't like any slop or movement within my basketball shoes. And on the GT Cut 2.0, it's a very snug fit, and it reminds me of the Kobe 7 and 8s, the way it fit my foot. So again, as far as the fit goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, I'm gonna have to give these a very solid 9 out of 10. As far as the materials go on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, I know a lot of people are gonna like the 1.0 materials just a little bit better, and I really enjoyed that neoprene portion on the toe box. But as far as the way this material fits my foot, I actually would say that I enjoy it just a little bit better. So as far as the materials go, it's kind of like a screen mesh. As you can see here, it is very thin, very breathable, and it does have a little bit of backing for support, and I will get to that on the support section. But as far as the materials go, you have some screen mesh here, some open cell mesh here, as you can see here, very breathable. And then the black and white striped portion is almost kind of like a knit material, and it's a little bit thicker, and it offers some extra durability near the toe for some toe offs and such. And it's kind of sprinkled throughout the shoe, and I think that's just kind of strengthening the upper of the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0. And then at the back of the shoe, at the heel counter, you do kind of have this synthetic leather here at the back, and then there's this ribbed heel counter as well, and it is kind of almost like a synthetic leather as well. So again, as far as the materials go, I enjoy this setup. It's nothing premium, especially when you're paying around $180. I will mention as well, the tongue on the 2.0 is still that really thick and nice padded neoprene material. So that's definitely a nice touch. But again, as far as the materials go, it's nothing special, but it's definitely nice. And again, it kind of translates the overall fit of the shoe. And I really enjoy the fit. So as far as the materials go on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2, I'm gonna have to give them a 9 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think and which one you prefer, the 1.0 or the 2.0. And then as far as the weight goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0, this is a size 10.5, and they do come in at 14.95 or 14.9 ounces. So as far as the weight goes, Nike did shave about 1.5 ounces off the GT Cut 2. The GT Cut 1 was over 16 ounces, so I think Nike did a fantastic job. I do know the 1.0 had a pretty clunky heel counter, and these do not feel like that. It just feels like an overall pretty light shoe. So I think that's an improvement on the GT Cut 2 versus the GT Cut 1 when it comes to the weight of this basketball shoe. So as far as the support goes on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2, I would say this is where the shoe is lacking the most. Now it's not terrible by any means, but there is a portion of the support features within the shoe that I'm not a big fan of. But starting at the heel counter, you do have an internal heel counter, kind of a plastic TPU heel counter, and it does a great job of locking your heel within the back of the shoe and just offering some stability and support within the back of the shoe. And then you do have this ribbed portion as well, which for me is very reminiscent of the Air Jordan 32 as far as this ribbed external heel counter. And then you do have this plastic clip that runs around the back of the shoe, and that offers some stability on lateral cuts. When you're making lateral cuts within the shoe, that clip is kind of keeping your ankle and just everything kind of housed within the back of the shoe, and it does a fantastic job. Moving your way down from that, you do have these 3 eyelets. They don't go down into the footbed, but they are kind of beefy. And basically the way they work, if you really crank these eyelets down here in the forefoot, they really kind of harness your foot in like a seatbelt and really kind of grab your foot. And I really enjoyed the setup as far as the support features here with these eyelets. I think Nike did a fantastic job on implementing them here in the GT Cut 2. And then working your way down from that, this upper here is very strong, very durable. And I think coupled with the upper and the drop-in midsole here, as you can see, it wraps up just ever so slightly, so it kind of acts as a lip. And on hard lateral cuts, this material with these 3 eyelets and that drop-in midsole here kind of harness your foot in very well on lateral cuts. And I will just show you as well, as you can see here, your foot does sit within this drop-in midsole ever so slightly. So I know it's a soft material, but having that lip here coupled with this material and these eyelets, it does a fantastic job on hard lateral cuts. It really houses your foot within the shoe. And then at the bottom of the shoe, there is a pretty wide and stable base as well. Not quite an outrigger, but it is wide and stable, so it does kind of keep your foot planted on the bottom. All of these are fantastic support features, but my only gripe with this shoe is that the torsional rigidity within the middle of the shoe, there's nothing. As you can see here, you can basically just fold the shoe in half. And I know a lot of shoes with the drop-in midsoles are like this, all the old Kobe models, and I believe the GT runs as well. The GT Cut 1 and 2, again, there's not a lot of torsional rigidity, pretty much nothing within the bottom of the shoe. It's just basically foam here. And I think a way Nike can kind of fix this is if they implement a plastic TPU or maybe even a carbon fiber shank plate. Now this is from the Jordan 12, it is quite long, so I think implementing this on this shoe would be just a little bit too much in my opinion. But I think if they implement a shank plate of some sort, basically from here to here, just offering a little bit of support for individuals' feet that need it, I think that would really prevent this shoe from folding in half, and it would just give the players a bit of more torsional rigidity. And I think adding that within the shoe would make this shoe basically a perfect support shoe for all the features that it already has. So as far as the support goes, I would have to give it a pretty solid 8 out of 10. So that's going to do it for today's video on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0. Again, these have yet to release outside of Asia, it looks like. It looks like we might be getting these in September. But again, as far as availability goes, these have been selling out super quick. Even over in Asia and the Philippines and whatnot, these sold out like in a minute flat. So I think when these release again here in North America, it's going to be a pretty big problem as far as attaining a pair. But again, as far as the traction goes within the performance of the shoe, fantastic traction pattern. Again, if you wipe, I really think you're going to have no issues even on dirty floors. And it's a very thick traction pattern, so I think it's going to last a very long time. The cushioning for me is absolutely amazing with that drop-in midsole, the Hex Zoom unit, the full-length Zoom Strobel, and that Phylon midsole. It's really an amazing setup. It offers a ton of impact protection while keeping your foot close to the floor. I know the 1.0 are definitely hyped. I actually like the look of the 1.0 just a little bit better. And I actually will have a performance review versus video on the 1.0 versus the 2.0, so keep it locked to the channel for that. But that's going to do it for today's video on the Nike Zoom GT Cut 2.0 performance review. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. As always, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps the channel a ton. Check out my Instagram over at 23mj88, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups and basketball footage and just nostalgia as a whole. But like I said, that's going to do it for today's video, and until next time, peace.